The internet can be a dark place. Between deep fakes, hot takes, death threats and dead pets, it can all be a bit much. And let's not forget about those poor, lonely, single MILFs in your area. But this isn't always the case. Websites that are synonymous with dogpiling the downtrodden or pinning a major terrorist attack on the wrong guy sometimes find a way to actually improve society. Oh, and if you're wondering what constitutes a bad website, they all suck. Society will only heal when we all return to Newgrounds and Tumblr and the Homestar Runner Wiki. Hey, if you liked the video, please consider liking or subscribing if you haven't already. And a massive thanks to all of my Patreons over on Patreon. Atheism. What a history you have. Nothing quite exemplifies Reddit's self-congratulatory, fedora-tipping smugness than the atheism subreddit. I'm an atheist-leaning agnostic with a huge penis and tiny balls, and look, embarrassingly, I probably would agree with a lot of what's posted there, but much like modern politics, users were often more concerned with dunking on the other guy than actually improving society. Still, there have been a few occasions where our euphoric eunuchs prove that you don't need God, Jesus, or the other one in order to make a positive change in the world. One might even argue that that was the sole reason for their generosity. In 2012, they managed to raise over $210,000 for Doctors Without Borders, which is an incredible effort for any community to achieve, even if it's somewhat undermined by comments such as, "I'm excited to see what else we can do with our godless empathy." I think that's just called empathy. Another anonymous anti-theist donated $500 on behalf of the atheism subreddit in order to fund a rainwater collection tank for the Mothers Givers Nursery School in Buhanga, Rwanda, after hearing about it from Reddit. Safe drinking water is up there with Philly cheesesteaks and weed on the hierarchy of basic human needs. And this tank has gone a long way to help a community often afflicted with diarrhea and other waterborne diseases. The tank itself is hilarious though. I can't tell if whoever funded it said his name was Reddit Atheism, or if whoever painted it just didn't understand what a subreddit was. Because why the fuck would they? Either way, this was a cool thing to do, so a tip of the fedora and an upvote for you, kind sir. Let's stay in Africa and talk about an absolute mad lad. The sort of guy who has to get an XL cup holder when he goes to the movies just to hold his massive balls. The kind of dude actually doing good in the world, instead of sitting on Twitter and arguing if a TV show is woke. In a post to the Pics subreddit, user The Lake shares the story of Anthony Omari. At the time, Anthony had just returned from the hospital after taking a machete to the face while defending an orphanage of 35 children by himself. Inspired by the Norse god of thunder, he fought off 2 attackers by nailing one of them in the face with a hammer. The following night, 3 of them returned, one with a large hammer-shaped dent in his face, looking for revenge. The idea of getting revenge for that is so funny to me. Like, how dare you nail me in the face with a hammer while I'm breaking into an orphanage? While Anthony put up a fight, he was outnumbered, and the last thing he remembers is being struck in the face with a machete. The Lake, a volunteer who worked with Anthony, asked in his post for donations so they could erect a cement and barbed wire wall, along with a wizard tower and a few spring traps. Seeing a man's face post-machete inspired Redditors to do something other than upvote Elon Musk tier memes or goon for 8 hours straight. In a respectable display, the community blew past the $2,000 they had asked for the walls and managed to donate a whopping $80,000 to the orphanage. This helped build their wall, with plenty more left over for projects such as a playground, a lunchroom, beds, water collection systems, and even a field trip. 10 years later, the Lake confirmed that everyone at the orphanage, including Anthony Omari, were doing well. In 2013, Redditor and children's hospital lurker, a short story long, posted an image outside an LA children's hospital with a note written in the window. "Send pizza, room 4112. Inside was 2-year-old Hazel, whose mum and grandma had used medical tape to spell out the joke request in an attempt to make Hazel smile." Once read it, it wasn't long for the sauce, cheese and dough to start pouring through the hospital's doors like a doughier version of the elevator scene in The Shining. According to Lorenzo Burnett, the hospital's director of media relations, "We got like 30 of them. Yep, I can see how he got the job. While sending pay-on-delivery pizzas to unwitting recipients is one of the internet's oldest pranks. These Redditors paid for the pizzas in advance, so they were actually nice gifts. With like 30 pizzas flooding the hospital, Hazel and her family decided to throw a pizza party for the other staff and children on the ward. Afterwards, they were asked to politely take the sign down. And according to the hospital's blog, you've made a little girl very happy. But no more pizza is needed. Some say that pizza continues to arrive at the hospital to this day. The last thing you'd want in your Burger King burger is someone's foot fungus. But as it turns out, that might be what you get. In 2012, a Burger King employee posted a photo to 4chan showing both of their beshoed feet planted in 2 trays of Burger King foot lettuce. Accompanying this image was the caption, "This is the lettuce you eat at Burger King." While this actually increased the nutritional value of the food, 4chan users were disgusted at the idea of someone having to eat Burger King. After a quick spot of generic hacking, users found that the EXIF data was still in the photo. EXIF, besides sounding like someone trying to say exit without moving their tongue, is the auxiliary data that's attached to every digital image file. This includes information such as date, time, camera type, proclivity to spicy food, etc. But it also includes a rough location of where the image was taken. Using this, Anons were quick to discover that the picture was taken in Mayfield Heights, Ohio. Less than 15 minutes after the employee posted the picture, the full contact details of the Burger King in question were also posted. 4chan began contacting local news stations, and one user allegedly got in touch with their manager. A day later, the Burger King in question terminated the 3 employees involved with the photo. These employees were most likely the one who took the photo and another 2 to each put one leg in a tray of lettuce. In 2010, a 4chan user posted a photo of a poster they'd found. It read, "Wanted, people for birthday party," along with a picture of the birthday boy in question. William Lashua, a World War II vet, was turning 90 years old, and 4chan assumed that this poster was a tragic call for accompaniment for an old man who might not have anyone left. After identifying Willie by calling the venue, Anons began making plans to send him cards, gifts, and even attending. This spread it to Reddit, and it wasn't long before Willie's grandson caught wind of it. He pleaded with the internet to be extra nice and not turn it into the sort of shit show that, you'd expect. He also clarified that the poster wasn't a tragic call for companionship, but really just to let people know. It was in no way to indicate that he is alone. He has 7 children, many grandchildren, and even great-grandchildren. In his younger years, he was a foster parent to dozens of foster children. He is well liked in the community and will be fully supported on his 90th birthday. He also asked that you only attend the party if you actually know him, but everyone was welcome to send him cards and well wishes. This didn't stop a few errant internet enthusiasts from attending, who were still graciously welcomed into the party. Photos from the event show Willie with friends and family, 2 tables of gifts, and a mountain of cards from digital well wishes. Help can come from the strangest of places, but would you have ever guessed that a rage comic could save your life? I'm sure user Delete didn't expect anything more than a few updates when he posted an innocuous rage comic. This work of literature, titled Pregnant Man Rage, told the story of his male friend jokingly using a pregnancy test only for it to come up positive. Don't worry, they used a large Reddit snoo in the background so that those dirty Instagram users couldn't steal this epic rage comic. Their Reddit army was quick to point out that the same chemical that tells women that there's a baby being 3D printed deep in their axe wound is the same one produced by certain testicular cancers. Because what are children if not just overgrown testicular tumors? After informing his friend, a doctor's appointment was booked, and Reddit waited with bated breath. A couple of days later, Opie returned with, what else, a rage comic, explaining his friend's situation. It turns out his right nut did have a tumor, but because they caught it early enough, it was treatable, while his friend would no longer be dual-wielding nuts. This stands as the only time that a rage comic prevented cancer instead of causing it. This wouldn't be the only instance of inadvertent life-saving that Reddit can take credit for. User R. Bradbury 1920 posted to the legal advice subreddit asking for help about what they thought was a landlord trespassing without warning. He began to notice bizarre post-it notes in a handwriting that wasn't his, reminding him to do errands he'd told nobody about. A few days later, another post-it appeared, reminding him to save his documents. Now terrified about a rogue Post-It Poltergeist posting post-its posthumously, he set up a webcam to catch the vandal in the act. 9 days later, he woke up to another post-it. Our landlord isn't letting me talk to you, but it's important that we do. Upon checking his computer, the webcam video folder was empty and the recycle bin had been cleared. So, you're probably wondering, how did Reddit solve this creepy mystery? Did they give him advice on how to build a Home Alone trap to catch the landlord in the act? Perhaps some actual legal advice to stop this from happening again? The answer is closer to something straight out of House, where House knows where the narwhal bacons and thinks that 420 and 69 jokes are still funny. User Kakalak responded with a few options, including the possibility that it could be a health issue. The OP had previously mentioned that they sleep in a narrow bedroom with no windows. Kakalak suggested that in such a room, poor ventilation or even a carbon monoxide leak could be a factor. OP replied, saying that they had been having bad headaches and that they'd use a CO detector to determine whether or not this was in fact the case. It was in fact the case. In a follow-up post, it turns out the CO detector read 100 parts per million. For reference, anything over 70 parts per million is considered dangerous. Symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning can include fatigue, headaches, watching many kudos videos, and mental confusion. Ironically, the Post-it poster turned out to be the original poster, and their brain had simply wiped all memories of doing so. Not only that, but their webcam was never even recording footage in the first place. Actually, as it turns out, I never plugged it in. I just put it on a shelf, downloaded a webcam app to my phone, which isn't even compatible with an external webcam, and made a folder on my desktop called Webcam, then thought it was deleted when the folder was empty. In a follow-up post several years later, they confirmed that after moving out of their Harry Potter-ass lodging, it took about a year for their brain to go back to normal. After a legal dispute, it sounds like they also received some form of settlement from their landlord. With this next story, we're only one more old man away from being a certified lemon party. Let's hop over from Reddit to Elon Musk's $44 million mistake, Twitter. If you ever need proof that the Bird app is an irredeemable hellhole, this is the only good story I have from there. Even 4chan is more. Like a lot of these stories, the initial post was one with a strong emotional hook. In early 2016, user Kelsey tweeted a picture of a deflated looking grandpa eating a burger with the caption, "Dinner with Papaw tonight. He made 12 burgers for all 6 grandkids, and I'm the only one who showed. Love him, he." This heart-wrenching post exploded, receiving hundreds of thousands of likes and retweets. It also drew equal parts pity for Papaw and ire for the grandkids who no-showed. More than a few people also said that they were willing to come in place of the grandkids for some of Papaw's famous hamburgers. A few less savoury types took this as an excuse to find Kelsey's careless cousins and dole out death threats. In response, Kelsey tweeted out, "Papaw is okay guys, I promise, and he loves all grandkids equally. Please stop sending my cousins death threats. Everything is okay." Of course, this is a video about websites doing good, and despite the threats, there was a lot of positivity to go around. Inspired by the many users who offered up their own stomachs if his grandkids would go walkabout, Papaw announced that he was having a burger cookout and everyone was invited. Burgers would be $2, and you could cop a shirt saying, "I ate a burger with Papaw," with any money left over going to the old man. The cookout ended up being a smash success, with over 2,000 attendees and even a few international visitors. The event morphed into a celebration of grandparents, with guests sharing stories of their Papaw with Papaw, which, quote, made him tear up. He was really touched. The burgers were good, and his grandson Brock said, "It made people realize that your grandparents aren't going to be around forever, and to call them up and tell them you love them. Unless you don't feel like it right now, or you want to go play WoW instead or something."